Committee Member Fowler.
Here.
Committee Member Pittman.
Here.
Committee Member Reynolds.
Here.
Committee Member DeLong.
Here.
Committee Member Thompson. Advisory Member C.
Here.
Advisory Member Bamber. He's on Zoom. He isn't promoted yet, but he's here. Committee Member Young is also on Zoom. Committee Member Grover is also on Zoom, and Committee Member Wright.
Here. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm assuming the committee has had a chance to review the consent calendar.
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve the consent calendar.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Moving over to regular business. Feather River Center Agreement number 3280 requests to relocate remaining funds, excuse me.
Gotta push it. There you go. Yep, now you just turned it back off again.
Okay, so red is off. Okay, thank you. Just a couple things. One is a correction. In the staff report, I had used a figure that had been provided by the finance department, but it was from a previous month. And so the correct figure of the remaining balance on this grant is $17,996.84. Brad is here, actually, and I think he did want to speak to this item a bit. The report actually is requesting that the remaining funds be reallocated to 3 categories, which would need to be adjusted based on the available unencumbered balance, if it's approved. We've actually looked at this a couple different times in meetings and have reallocated funds, and have in the report that you have in front of you, you actually have a letter from the Forbay as well as the categories that were approved on the original grant of $300,000, and then a reallocation at a different time. Okay. And this grant actually doesn't expire, has a few more months left on it before it expires, but the Feather River Recreation Center would like to reallocate the funds. Okay?
Is there someone here to speak on this?
Yes, Brad Cook. Flying.
So I have, I just found out that it wasn't the amount that I thought from past months when I got my last report. So the budget sheet that you have in front of you is, all I'm simply going to do is just change the sums in those categories. But the main purpose of this reallocation was to just whittle it down to what's now important to us to finish off this year, which is marketing and a bit more for equipment and some handicap items for our program.
What was the amount?
The balance remaining is 17,996.84 of the original $300,000 grant that was approved in 2019.
And how many times have we reallocated this?
I believe once.
Just once.
We actually had a clarification on expenditures in the beginning. It was, during the tenure of the SBF program specialist, there were items that were being paid that were not in the original request, and that was corrected. We kind of, I believe, Mr. Reynolds said a line was drawn in the sand and said, we're not going to go back and claw back what you have already paid people or used money for, but in the future, you need to stick to budget, and if you need to make a change, you have to come back and request that from the committee. And that's basically what's in front of you right now, is a change to reallocate the remaining balance of roughly $18,000.
Committee Member Pittman.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm assuming then when we look at the 18,000, you're going to still use the bulk of that for your number A category of the outboard motors, the safety launches, and the handicap issues?
I'm actually going to even those two up, the marketing and the equipment category, so they'll be more equal with the remaining budget. Because marketing turns out to be one of the most important resources that we need help with.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. In your marketing, what seems to be your most successful return on investment for the marketing?
Well, I have having my social media director, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and our website are keys. But I'm also doing a pretty big blitz getting ready for salmon season with radio, and hopefully the newspapers are going to cover us also.
Good. What's your participation level been in terms of general numbers?
That's a good question. So the pandemic, we had a crazy 2020 where we broke records because people needed to be outside. Mm-hmm. 2021, a real down year, and now we're back to what I'd call our average or our norm. Maybe a little higher than norm right now.
Good.
Is this the part where I would talk about, or do I have to wait for my...
You want to do an update?
Yeah.
Okay. Would be up to the chairperson.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
It's real quick. So what I wanted to point out is the remainder of this money is we're putting a lot of effort into the salmon tours here on the river, and a lot of really good things have happened, and I think it's going to become a real staple business for us, working with Feather River Parks. So I wanted to give an update on that because most of these funds are going to be directly sunk into our salmon tour program.
Yeah, it'd be great to see.
Okay. One thing that just occurred was we found out that our launch site over at the hatchery can you do the picture first? Does not belong to DWR. So for us to be able to run the river successfully and easily, this launch site became super important under the bridge there. And over the many years that we've been doing this, it was a real problem getting access with DWR. Turns out that it is owned by the California Lands Commission. So see that yellow strip or the brownish strip? That is their land. So I went to them and got a permit. And they're just saying thumbs up to access.
Cool.
So that was a really big deal for us.
Yeah.
To make this a lot easier. And I heard they replaced the gate.
I'm not sure. I know they've done some improvements to the gate there. So, yeah, I appreciate your patience in waiting through this whole thing, because it did get
my
very
God.
complicated.
Oh, yeah.
We learned some things along the way, too. The Department of Water Resources owns portions of land over in that area. The State Lands Commission owns portions of the land. We have an agreement with State Lands Commission for the lands that encompass the fish hatchery features, and that land is part of that agreement. So we have control for the purpose of operating a fish hatchery, but not for allowing a recreation activity to occur there. So we have a gate there that is part of our one of our security features, so people can't just drive along the edge of the fish ladder viewing window area and everything else. So you have to get through this gate to get down to the area that Brad's talking about to launch his boat. So anyways, but yes, we were able to figure out a path forward where the Feather River Center gets a direct permission from State Lands Commission, which we're fine with, and then we'll work out the as far as getting through the gate. So took a
And
little while
thanks
to
to
get there.
Sabrina and your office, we waded through this, and it looks like we're going to have access, and it's just been a win-win for all of us. So
Yeah.
thank you
Sure,
for
absolutely.
helping make
Let
that
me ask a
happen.
question real quick. That's good to hear, and I appreciate the coordination going on. Is that going to affect the SBF or the settlement agreement plans for that particular put-in site?
It will. There's definitely going to be a direct relationship. So, and just to explain a little bit more, we have a requirement when the new license is issued. One of our projects is going to be the development of a river trail for the Feather River, which is going to be a series of access points along the Feather River for kayaks and canoes and that type of thing. And so this location is one of the locations that's identified for improvement. So we don't have the plan yet for how we're going to make those improvements, but we're definitely going to be working with Feather River Center and other entities that want to launch there. I think American Rivers would want to weigh in on how to develop that site to have it be what is the best use of the location. So we're thinking it's not going to be like a paved launch ramp for trailered boats, that sort of thing. It's going to stay for small watercraft, but definitely we will be incorporating the use of that site by groups like Feather River Center. So that'll be part of our outreach when we're planning the project.
Maybe the State Lands Commission might kick in a few bucks to help.
That would be great, but I'm not holding my breath about that one. But,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we actually asked them if we could, somehow just take, ownership of the property, but they decided they wanted to maintain ownership and just keep this relationship the way it is for now, and just, have these kind of agreements with users of the site. So.
And I requested funds from him when I.
Sure you
and-
did. Good idea.
And I was just happy to get access, so.
So I have a question. You said that the majority of these funds are going to go towards marketing, and then you said Facebook and Instagram and things like that. So you have a facilitator for those things?
Yeah, I have a marketing director.
Who is that? Is that someone local?
It's Ashley Freitas. She has worked for us for 4 years. Yeah, she's a local young woman.
And that's her business?
That is her business. One of her businesses.
Ah, good.
She's also a manager at the Forebay, managing our programs and stuff.
Cool.
So it's really nice to be able to spread the goodness out amongst locals and people like that.
So she's the manager of the Forebay where your business is operating, but you have to pay her additional.
This is like this side, yeah, she is my media person, and that is a side business with her business.
Okay, and the reason, because we went through a few things with this, with these funds, with paying salaries and things, and I understand there was a pickup truck bought from a board member and things like that. So I'm questioning circumventing funding to individuals.
Okay, and this is a history before I stepped in, and yeah, it has a little bit of a checkered past. I have simplified it greatly, and I feel like it's now all going exactly where we need it to go.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Marciniak, how do you feel about that? Because I haven't really had a chance to review what he's asking.
Yeah, well, in the short time that I've been back, there has not been a request for, any reimbursement. So I haven't had an opportunity to review what occurred a year and a half ago, though, or close to 2 years ago, when I filled in one other time. I met with Brad, I think a few days before I was leaving, and we established that what he needed to do on an ongoing basis, and it's my understanding that was accomplished. So,
I haven't done a reimbursement maybe in 6 months, just because while waiting for this approval. So we just had this big lag time, but as soon as, if and when you reallocate it, then I'm going to flood Bob with some requests.
So, and I'm just trying to figure out, you said the majority of the 17,000, is that 16,000 of it, or is that 8,000 of it?
For which category?
For the marketing.
I'm gonna, so we see a 12 and a 9,000 here from the old number, and just because I just got this, I would say marketing at 10 and the equipment at 7.
And how long does that $10,000 cover your marketing?
Well, what it's gonna do is it's gonna so I've been marketing since April for our season. So it's going to cover my back marketing. And what I'm going to show you next is our future marketing. So this is a part that was paid for, or will be paid for by SBF, and this is funneling into the salmon tours. So a chunk of this marketing here is going to be used extensively for September, October.
And then based on the figures that you just said, it eliminates the contingency. So you're going 10 for marketing and 7 to pay for equipment, it looks like, and the handicap dock.
Right.
10 and 7 is 17, and there's 17,
I forgot about the
9
contingency.
available.
Is it normal to let go of the contingency on a request?
Sure, it's your budget.
Then I'm going to let go of it and be specific, because I know exactly what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So you have 10,000 for marketing and 7,000 for
900 roughly for 79, 96, 84
for what?
equipment.
Equipment. So where does the money for the handicap come in?
That's the equipment.
Oh,
it's going to be. It's going to be
handicap equipment.
Yeah, it's stuff that we can do the rivers with individuals. We don't have the proper boats for them, so we're going to get a couple crafts to make it accessible.
And that'll pay for that $7,900.
Yeah. I already have a wish list. It's all thought up already.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just not familiar with marketing and what the cost is with that, and I know I have a Facebook account. It doesn't cost me.
Well, then I should give an example. Producing some of these marketing videos, they can run. This is really well done. $1,500, $2,000 to get a really nice piece of marketing work.
Right.
And this, by the way, is really promoting Oroville, the river, the salmon, and I put it everywhere. It's used with Explore Butte County takes it. So this is a really priceless tool, and it does cost money to get it done right.
Can I ask
Yeah.
one?
Shannon?
The outboard motors for the safety launches, that's primarily a rowing club thing, correct?
Correct.
So would that money be better spent in maybe improvements at the launch ramp where we're going to be?
It's already been purchased.
Okay.
So it's
So
done.
they're already coming.
Yep. And those are safety launches.
Right, safety line, but they're only used for the rowing club.
It's mostly for the rowing programs. I have access to them to use as a safety boat also. So there's a little multi-use involved.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Brad, I have one question. I know that the chamber works a lot to advertise the aquatic center. If you were to put a value on that relationship and what they do, what would it look like? Any idea?
You mean a monetary value or just a value to us?
As a monetary value.
It's huge. It's a partnership. I mean, we're both going both ways, right? Yeah. We're both advertising for each other and vice versa, and they have been instrumental. And like, for instance, you have everything I have, Amber has. So I make sure it gets spread far and wide.
So it's a win-win.
Oh, yeah.
Good to hear.
And we're a member. Of course.
So the launching area that you're using under the bridge, you said you bought a permit?
I didn't buy, I had to apply for a permit from, what are they called? The California Lands Commission?
Yeah, it's the State Lands Commission.
State Lands Commission.
Does that mean you control that launch area?
That means I have access, I have my own lock, because it's,
People who use it.
right, but we now have the ability to drive a vehicle with a trailer down there.
Okay.
That's the key to the whole thing. Anybody can walk down there, do whatever, launch boats, do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah, the area is open to the public, but as Brad points out, it's really the gate that allows vehicular access, which they need for their program to be able to get the boats down there and get the kids in the boats and everything. So the key thing was the gate, but in order for us to allow vehicle access onto a section of State Lands Commission property that we don't own, it actually wouldn't, our encroachment permit process wouldn't allow us to do that without having the entity that is requesting access have permission from the State Lands Commission. So by Brad getting that, we can now, it frees us up to be able to allow them to click their lock onto our lock on the gate that we control. So it's complicated. When we do the improvement down there, we're not just gonna have that that 4-foot fence. I mean, we're definitely we'll redesign that whole access point and
Like a better road grade and everything.
probably better vehicular access, and then also probably separate pedestrian access. So they don't get in each other's way.
So those dangerous stairs could maybe be.
There's another story about that. But,
Yeah.
There'll be some improvements there. But yeah, so really it's about the gate and having vehicular access to that location.
Well, I know that you guys use my gate all the time. I was wondering if you needed a permit.
I'll tell you what, if it was just a matter of purchasing a permit, it would be a lot less expensive than the amount of time that's been put into
This has been a 4 to 5 year process to get here, so it's a big deal.
It's good to hear.
So, speaking of marketing, this is what's going to be going out. This is how we're prepping for our fall season. And that's 60 seconds.
Wow, very good.
How much was that video?
Probably 15.
It was about close to $1,000. I'm using the same videographer that Explore Butte County does all their stuff with. And when I look at it, I'm kind of old school, and when I look at it, I'm like, it's worth every cent. Because it's, when I put that out there, it just it's worth 1,000 words.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment? I just wanted to point something out. The salmon you saw in the video right there, that spawning, the gravel there, that's gravel that we installed in 2017 and also in 2014 in some of our salmon spawning gravel projects. And the original slide of the cover, you could actually see it from the air. It was just one solid set of spawning reds for probably 100 yards.
And it washed out the year of the flood.
Right, in 2017 we put new gravel in.
And now it is an amazing nursery, salmon nursery. So, thank you.
Yeah, I like that video.
Yeah. Do you want to have something?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. That was worth every bit we spent on it.
Quick question I
Yeah.
have. In watching that, and I was thinking about, I just happened to be one of my retailers here in town, and they have about 300 kayaks sitting for sale in their storage area, and you might go down to Walmart and apply for a grant.
It's at Walmart.
Walmart, they have hundreds of kayaks sitting on their back store shelf by their nursery.
Like that were returns or something?
No,
that-
they're just ready to be sold. They have lots and lots of kayaks, and I'm just thinking, if you showed that video, plus they have $1,000 grants they offer quite often, you might run down there and get a grant and show them that video and said, you know what, here's where all your kayaks are going to be sold. Just as an idea.
That is an excellent idea. So, in the local Walmart.
Yes, local
Okay.
Walmart.
Just as a side note, Costco has given us, easily $10,000 worth of equipment through their program. All this people return stuff, right? Use it once. They gave us 16 inflatable kayaks. So,
Well, I also happen to know that Walmart has a group of employees that will offer and donate volunteer services for you too. So I would encourage you to talk to the manager down there.
I will do that right away. Yes.
Okay, any other
Is that it?
discussion? Shannon? Thank you, Brad.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, what do you need us to do?
So we need to have a motion either to reallocate as requested based on the figures that we just talked about, or deny it, or provide direction back to staff for whatever direction you prefer to provide. So, I suppose the good news is that this brings this grant to closure, should it be approved, the reallocation. It's also for a short window of items leading up to the Salmon Festival coming up here real soon. So those things kind of keep in mind, okay?
What was it allocated for to begin with?
The original, thank you. Original allocations
46,431.
covered 5 categories. Water, security, safety, and related accessories, 79,500. Recreational, educational, capital resources, including watercraft, safety, and play items, 49,300. Public event and regatta equipment services, 25,000. 121,200 for the program development, equipment and designs that Melton Design Group were doing. They also, at that time, had a $25,000 contingency for a total grant of $300,000. It was approved on April 24th, 2019. It began the drawdown. COVID arrived, things kind of went sideways for everybody. And now we're down to the $17,996.84 remaining of the original $300,000 request. Approval, excuse me.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the reallocation request as agendized and as the new numbers are reported to amend the staff report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Call to vote, please.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 1 absent.
All right,
Okay,
moving, are we done?
Yes, with that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Feather River Recreation Park District, grant 3270, extension for the Brad Freeman Trail.
Okay, staff report on that. This grant was issued on January 16th, 2019, in the amount of $260,760. There have been expenditures bringing it down to the available amount still to 237, 299.59. I love all the little pennies, but we keep track of everything. Originally, there was a kind of a conversation agreement that California State Parks would be working on the trail itself and providing the construction and the labor, which would have been done considerably less than what the real cost to do this by not using California State Parks. They since have advised the district that they are unable to do that. In my discussions with the district manager, with Sean, he would like to ask for a one-year extension of the remaining funds. He currently is anticipating applying for one or two federal or state grants, because the actual cost, and I think Victoria, you're going to talk about the cost.
I'm really here to just answer questions if needed.
Okay.
Really, you're covering it. Keep
okay.
going, Bob. Keep going. You got it.
The hard dollar cost to do this with the type of labor that has to be, I'm stuck on the word, pardon me, it's not conforming.
Prevailing wage.
Prevailing wage,
Yes.
Thank you. The cost to really do this is probably well over $1 million. And so Sean is hopeful to acquire one or more grants. There also was an anticipation that some funds from Congressman LaMalfa that as part of a funds directed to this area, that this particular project might have been covered by that. Unfortunately, that did not occur, and that approval in the Congress apparently was not approved as anticipated. So at this point, what the district is really looking for is an extension for 1 year. We would just basically keep the grant open. Sean and his people would continue to apply, and maybe somewhere down the line during that process, California State Parks might be able to step back in. So we kind of are hoping to keep this open. You all, I'm sure, remember this is the missing link of the Brad Freeman Trail. It also got very complicated right after this grant was approved, because there were little pieces of water, land, and that belonged to the county and a couple of private individuals. So those, and the city of Orville. So those have all been resolved. The legalese of being able to finish the trail is ready to go. The issue is the money at the moment. Okay. You're there for questions. Okay.
I'm
Great,
essentially
Victoria.
You said that Sean applied for the grants. Where's Sean?
So Victoria's going to speak on that.
Go ahead.
Sean is no longer with the district. At a special board meeting last Wednesday, the board unanimously decided to terminate his contract with the park district. Right now, they are moving towards interim options in the meantime, but staff is dividing up projects and different duties, and we're moving forward. So I've tried to catch up as much as possible with this project and our grant applications that we have submitted that weren't awarded, and hopefully I can answer any questions for you.
Please, go ahead.
I have a question. According to this, you've spent about $33,000. What has that been on, Mr. Marciniak?
I believe that was engineering and legal.
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with the engineering and then the legal process of getting the easements and the correct environmental permits to move forward with the project.
That was paid for out of this grant, getting that mess cleaned up down there with all them different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I hate to keep kicking the can down the road and just have it get eaten up in administrative costs, and then we don't have any money for working on the trail.
Yeah, well, as of right now, those are the costs that have been incurred for just the permitting and engineering, like we mentioned, and everything else. I mean, all the permits and the easement agreements are all ready for construction. Another dime isn't anticipated to be spent until we're ready to start that construction.
And you're waiting on grants to be able to have the funding for the full construction project?
So right now, we're exploring different grant opportunities. Yes, that's correct. From what I see with the approval.
Sorry, I've sort of know what you're going to say a little bit. So at what point of the exploring are you at with some of these grants?
So we have applied for 3 separate grants this year for this project, and none of them were awarded. We're continuing to explore those different opportunities, and some of those grants that we did apply for this year will exist next spring, and we are in conversations with Doug Lamoff's office, for example, on how to succeed next year.
Okay, so really nothing in the works right now. You're waiting.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Committee Member Pittman.
Yeah, thank you. And congratulations on getting the property squared away, because that goes back to Spanish land grants to the center of the river.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated process, and I'm surprised you only spent that amount. I've been aware of that process. In your thinking about it, and I know you're down to the construction costs and whatnot, I just throw out the idea maybe even a portional part of the trail be prepared. You know, if you can't get that, then at least a partial part of the trail. Maybe the most difficult part might be instead of the entire trail, because I believe the trail is planned for, you know, full ADA access and so on and so forth. So if you can get a portion of it done, that might be at least a beginning. Or I'd love to see the whole thing done, but at least a portion might be some thought to look at, because then it gets into phasing. We'll phase this part and that part. And I'm looking for success in the future, so I just throw that idea out. Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, I wasn't aware that Sean was not with the district any longer, but a couple weeks ago, he and I did have a conversation about him approaching Butte College to talk about, with their heavy equipment operation department. You may recall that when the soccer fields were built, that they actually did all of the grading and everything there. And it was almost at a no-cost basis, because it was a learning experience for the students and the staff. So we had actually discussed that as a potential thing to at least get the trail graded out,
Right.
And then the other items occur in the future.
That's a good idea, too.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to jump in here real quick. So I'd ask the committee to consider the fact that we are in need of a new general manager, but the district has an opportunity. It's a brand new space for us to decide what direction we're going to be going as a board for the district, for the betterment of Orville in general. So give us a little bit of time, and we're going to have a brand new district with a brand new vision, and we're going to have better people to help perform what needs to happen, what should have happened already. But with COVID and the flood, there's a lot of things that got in the way. And I think we have a greater sense of clarity now. And we've got great people on staff. They're really working hard. And I'm hoping to have stronger, better leadership in the near future. So please consider that.
I would make one comment also, actually back to Mr. Reynolds, concern about administrative fees eating up the amount. Should this be approved, you can, in your motion, you can limit it to construction activities, which, and then if something came up during that one-year window, the district would come back and say, we need to have X dollars for whatever it might be. But I think that would give peace of mind to the voting people that the funds are really going to be used for construction.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that safety mechanism, and no, I'm not trying to draw a hard line with you. I just, we've had a lot of people come to us, and then these monies go for salaries and everything, and it's like,
That's
wait a
not
minute,
our intention.
you're supposed to build this thing.
I completely understand your decision.
We actually did that with the huge soccer field grant that
Yes.
the SBF granted over 14 years ago now. That grant was very limited to construction only.
Okay, well, with that, if we're ready, I'll make a motion that we extend the grant for 1 year, providing that the remaining funds are used for construction of the project.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Call to vote, please.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you so much. And I do want to reassure the committee that staff takes this project very seriously. We've been working very hard to get to the point that we are right now, and that this project's not going to fall by the wayside. We appreciate your patience and your extension, and I hope to come back to you guys soon with great news. I'll also be sure to be meeting with Mr. Marciniak to discuss the details of the project further.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5, consideration of a one-time allocation of funds for the 4th of July fireworks at the Orville Airport.
Okay, there's a staff report. It's actually on page 22 of your packets. You may recall that we did have a special meeting just prior to the 4th of July, and at that time asked the chamber to come back should there be a shortfall in the funds that were being raised. Based on the information that the chamber provided, it appeared that the shortfall was $3,031.85. And so the chamber is here. Amber is here if you'd like to ask her any questions.
Mr. Marciniak, I have $3,117.
3,000, oh. Okay.
And I'll actually note on that, I recalculated the spreadsheet this morning, so the shortfall was for $3,111. And then we also wanted to put in the addition, one of the things we do is help by taking credit card payments. And so part of the cost is the credit card fee as well, which came out to another $135.63 on top of that. And we do want to thank you all again for having that special meeting. The fireworks show went fantastically. Usually with the fireworks, even at the chamber, we get a couple dozen negative comments. We only got 1 negative comment this year. So I think it was really well received by the whole community. All the other comments were positive, lots of views on the post. So a lot of positive feedback. So we just want to thank you for your support on that.
So what you're saying is the actual with the credit card cost is $3,252.65?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because when you came before this committee and we offered the shortfall, it was for the fireworks and the cost. It wasn't for incidentals or anything else.
Okay.
So I'm going to recommend that we pay the $3,252.65.
Okay. Yeah, originally I just had the 5,000 in the letter because we were waiting to finalize the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that was not to exceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thank you. It was an excellent show.
Any other comments?
That's good.
Is there a second? That was a motion, correct?
I wonder.
It felt like a motion.
Sure.
Sounded like a motion.
If there are no further comments, I'll make the motion that we pay the $3,252.65 for the shortfall of the fireworks.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Is there
you.
a second?
Second.
Okay, call to vote, please.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you,
Thank
Amber.
you.
Thank you, Amber.
I'm next item too, so I'll just stay up here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so item number 6 is the request from the Orville Area Chamber of Commerce to extend the maturity of the SBF grant number 3243-4.
Correct. And again, a staff report on page 26. They're actually asking to extend it until the end of 2022, December 31st, 2022, which allows them to continue the activities that the steering committee had previously approved, but it takes them through the light show, which is in December. The previous grant, when it was approved and the contract and agreement was written, should have actually had the 12/31/2022 ending versus ending in the middle, the way it did, not quite the middle, but a few months before it. So it's a fairly simple request to extend the grant to that date. Excuse me.
I have no comment on it.
Any discussion?
There's no discussion. I'll make a motion that we approve the 2021 Chamber of Commerce Funding Agreement Extension Request and approve till, what was it, December 31st?
Yeah,
2022?
December 31st, 2022.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call to vote, please.
Motion carries with 4 yeses and 1 absent.
Thank you all again. We really appreciate the support for these community events, and we hope to see you at the Salmon Festival and Parade of Lights. Thank you.
Amber.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the steering committee advisory committee members and staff comments. DWR, Eric?
Sure, thank you. So I just want to provide a few highlights of our operations right now. Lake Orville's current elevation as of last night at midnight was 728 feet of elevation. We're dropping about a foot or so a day, which is pretty typical for this time of year. Releases to the Feather River through the city of Orville are 1,300 cubic feet per second, a little bit higher than where we are sometimes, but we're releasing extra water to be able to meet temperatures at the Robinson Riffle temperature compliance point. And that's for the protection of salmon and steelhead that are in the Feather River right now. Total releases to the Feather River below the Afterbay outlet are 3,750 CFS, and there's about 2,500 CFS that's coming into the lake at the current time. And I don't really have an update from what I had presented earlier at an earlier meeting about the forecasted lake elevation for the fall, but I just wanted to reiterate we're looking at being by the end of September, October period around the 675-foot elevation and maintaining that until the rains start again, which we'll start bringing the lake back up. So not nearly as bad as we were last year, but still quite a bit of freeboard there. But we will have definitely the Bidwell boat ramp, the State Street boat ramp will still be in the water. And depending on where the lake levels really settle out, because we're actually tracking a little bit higher than the forecast from a couple months ago, we might still have Loafer Point still in the water. So we'll just have to wait and see about that. But Bidwell will definitely be in the water. And that's it for me.
Questions? Dave?
How's the new road at Spillway working out?
It's working well. We are installing some additional signage and trying to just make it more coherent for the public to get in there. It's we're learning a lot about traffic patterns and just how to make things easy for the easier for the public for directing in the area. But in general, it's working really well. The road's really smooth, and I haven't heard any complaints about it. Just a lot of people like the view driving down, and really have appreciated having that boat ramp open again for 24-hour use. Yeah. I wondered, Aaron, do you have any?
It's been going well. We haven't had any complaints or issues. So currently, the biggest thing is just people getting lost. So we need to work on the signage, which we're going up tomorrow and working on that some more. But no, it's been working out well. It's a much better view than it was before.
Yeah.
So I've heard that a number of times because it's now you drive in, you see the lake. It's kind of what you'd expect coming into a park.
Yeah.
Versus the dinosaur fence on the other side. So I think it's working out pretty good.
Any thought about moving your kiosk up a little closer to the dam or not? Or, well, no, you can't do that when the water's up. So no.
Yeah, no.
Huh.
It's going to be there for a while now.
Yeah. How's the usage of the lake going so far with the little bit of summer we've had?
It started off really busy. It's getting slower with the low water levels. But we're still, Loafer Creek, the new launch ramp, has still been really busy. That seems to be the main spot people want to go. Spillway has had some traffic. And then Lime Saddle still getting some people trickling in. It's still usable, so that's nice. Both marinas are always busy on the weekend. So the biggest issue we're having with that is just the houseboats that we're still working on a long-term plan how we're going to fix that or resolve that issue.
Yeah. So, Eric, are you finished with your report?
I am, yes.
Okay. Aaron, since you started, you want to continue with the rest of your report?
Yeah, overall, the park is still real busy. We've seen a lot of trail use and other aquatic. The North Forebay, South Forebay has still been fairly busy throughout the summer. Interesting enough, we're seeing a huge increase in our medicals. I mentioned this before, but we're seeing a lot of people coming out to the parks that are not your typical park user. So they're coming out, they're getting dehydrated, they're overextending themselves, and we're getting a lot more medicals. And then we've also, which not within the state park system, but on the Feather River, relevant to here, we're getting a lot of rescues. So we're getting requests to go with our boat to help do rescues on the river. So I think this summer we've already had 5 or 6 that I'm aware of. So, which is usually 1 or 2 in a typical year. So not sure how that's going to play out for the whole season, but it is an increase. And I think it may just be going because people are looking where they can get water sources. I know I talked to Fish and Game, and the Monument Hill's been extremely packed for the last couple of years since the drought. So that may be part of that. But outside of that, staffing levels are getting better. We've had a number of officers that got injured. About half of them have come back. And then we have a new canine as well in the area, which is helpful. It's for dual purpose protection and tracking, as well as it looks for firearms. And we've already found several firearms within the parks that were from bad people. So, but otherwise, I think things are going fairly smooth for the summer. So,
any work on the clay pit or the SRA?
So there is a lot of plans. The current issue we're kind of coming across is the opinion for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They have major concerns with the clay pit and the vernal pools. And so everything kind of stemmed from Oceana Dunes and down south. And so now they're doing the air monitoring and they're doing WIP reports, the wilderness or wildlife habitat protection plans. And one of the things that came out was the vernal pools. And there's quite a few vernal pools in the clay pit area. And so that's causing some headaches. And we're worried about the long term. But our new project manager has a new education area set up that he wants to build. And so we're working with partnerships to try and get that done sooner than later. In fact, DWR is wanting to do some mining for some of their projects out of there. And we're hoping we'll be able to use their help while they mine, actually put it in our track that we're looking for.
Good idea.
So things are going forward, but that's kind of been the stall now. It's the environmental issues. And I think everybody's kind of posturing to find out what's going to happen with that environmental report because it's up for public comment right now, and that may have some impacts. So I will stay tuned, and I'll let you guys know as soon as I hear anything more.
I remember the OHV commission when they did a tour of that, and the whole commission was here. The environmentalists report were essentially that there was a very high reproduction rate on fairy shrimp in the vernal pools because the actual activity there tended to mash them down and help them in the reproduction rate. So I hope the same scientists are still on board to issue that opinion.
Yeah, there has actually been studies that show that the actual OHV use is actually beneficial to them, and it helps also spread. So, I mean, there's definitely some positives.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure where that report is, especially thinking about the U.S. for Fish and Wildlife. So, outside of that, like I said, I think it's been pretty much status.
Good.
So I think we're all just tired. There's been a lot of fires in their communities that we've been responding to.
So you mentioned signage and water rescues. Mm-hmm. Do you have any plans to increase the signage? Is there a partnership you can do with DWR, Feather River Parks, the county, whatever, along the river to educational videos, what have you? I mean, do you have anything in the works?
It's not ours, so we don't respond to the river typically.
Okay.
Anytime we go, it's for mutual aid. It hasn't been on the lake or on the forebay. So typically it's on the Feather River itself. And so we don't have...
The state parks has actually implemented rescues on the river?
We've been called in, We have the equipment, and so we respond to assist either Orville Fire Department, CAL FIRE, Butte County Search and Rescue, because a lot of times we have the resources quicker than they do.
Sure.
And so we're coming from Glen Drive, so we can be there within 15 minutes with a boat versus if they're doing a call out and they're having to bring boats from other areas.
Right.
And our staff are really good at doing those kind of rescues. So additionally, we also hired 4 more lifeguards. And so we can pull those and have those help us as well. And so that's kind of what we get called for just because the remoteness or the proximity, and we all help each other out.
So let me rephrase the question. Maybe you'd like to see more signage on the river, So you don't have to do as many rescues.
We
that
would.
be-
We would.
Okay.
And we'd definitely be willing to talk and work as a partnership and try and come up with a game plan, including if we're going to put more guides or kayaks on the river, is having some plans on who's going to respond and what the plan is if we have more incidents. So I think they're great ideas, but I'd like to have a game plan of who's going and when, because all of our agencies are super short-staffed right now.
Right.
So,
Any other questions? Or are you finished with your report?
yes, sir.
Shannon, anything to say? Nope. Okay.
I would add one thing that it was talked about a long time ago, and along the river, because there are so many waypoints, it might be nice down the line to have signage that indicates what waypoint you're at as you go down the river, because you can say river right or left, but at where are you? I mean, between the boat ramp at Riffles to the outlet, you know, if you had some signage that would say every mile or something like that, there's a mile marker, that would help the responders to locate where people are on the river. And that could go all the way down the river, all the way to Yuba City, essentially, because sometimes people don't know where they're getting in. And we know where one ramp is, we know where another ramp is. I don't know how many know if there's a ramp at Riffles, and then the outlet, and then where's the other points that we all could talk about, but we don't have them identified by signage. And so if someone on the river could ship and say, hey, I'm at waypoint so-and-so, or something along those lines, might be something to think about.
Sounds like a feature of a river trail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the river trail and your Freeman Trail. I believe there was talk about having waypoints on that too. There was GPS marking.
There are markers on those. Parks put those in, I believe, for the whole Freeman
Right,
Trail.
right. I'm just thinking some kind of signage. He mentioned signage. I think that'd be a great idea to say you're at such and such sign, or just left it, or something like that. Because the river's a big place.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Actually,
Thank you.
one more quick thing, just might be of interest to this group, is we did review with Fish and Game some of the hunting policies within the park. It looks like pretty much everything's going to stand. With the fires that we've had, it's kind of pushed a lot of wildlife, bears and different animals down close to the water. So we're revisiting whether we're going to try and allow waterfowl or something else. Looking at the recommendation from Fish and Game and just what the requests are, I don't think we're going to change anything, but it is something we are actively looking at and just considering. So just want to make sure that you guys...
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen a lot of hunting since probably 2014 compared to in the past. And so we were trying to see what we can do to help spur that back. So,
Thank you. Do we have Jonathan Young on Zoom or anything? Anybody?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is Jonathan Young with the State Water Contractors. Only update I had was just mentioning that this Friday there's an Orville Dam Citizens Advisory Commission meeting. That's going to be held at the Southside Orville Community Center at 10 a.m.
What day?
That's going to be Friday, July 29th, this Friday.
Okay, thank you. American Rivers, Dave Steindorf, are you here?
No.
I do have Jonathan, or Andy's here. But
Bob, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Just, Eric, question on the resolution for the extension of the contract. Is that in process, and when can we expect to get the contract for signature?
Answer to the first question, yes, it is in progress. As far as exactly when, I was able to extract after quite a bit of conversation with our administration folks. They think probably about 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months out?
Yes.
Okay. We're anxious to bill for the
right.
135,000.
Pushing where I can. So.
All right. Okay. Thank you. And then in the listing on here, I basically listed all the grants that are still open. The Oroville Veterans Memorial Park, they are now rebidding for about the third or fourth time on the pergola. They first couple times the cost was too high, then they did not have anybody rebid, and so that's in process. But that particular grant will be coming to a conclusion pretty soon. So they'll either be asking for an extension or hopefully get the work finished. They have done, obviously they've done the flagpole, but they have not billed for it, and they were holding off because a portion of that had to do with how the pergola fits around it. The other, just my other question to the committee, when I came back, I had, I guess the right word would be promised to send a monthly update mid-month, and I've been doing that each month. I just want to make sure that that's acceptable, and I try to put information in it that has the current financial information as well as progress on any project that or any issue that we need to have. So it's still good. Okay, good. Otherwise, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Is there anything else before we adjourn the meeting? We will adjourn at 5 after 3. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I gave him the minutes to sign, so
I have your scribble.
I gave him the ones he wanted signed.
Let me
Yeah.
make sure.